y dos, y dos, una, y dos, una, y dos.
Hello and welcome to Cortesnyc Livestream, the podcast.
This show broadcasts out of New York City.
We're your hosts, Cortesnyc,
And Carla de Puerto Rico.
and on the show we talk about art, creativity, city life from a Latino perspective. I am a visual artist,
And I'm a singer.
and this is episode 82.
As always, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and Spotify, and also on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And as always, don't forget my online store, cortesnyc.bigcartel.com. You could find all my merchandise there. I have graffiti pins, stickers, posters, original art for sale. And also, if you haven't picked it up yet, pick up that Copa collab, that beer glass, pint glass collab that I did with Beer Canvas. You can find it on beercanvas.com. Really cool drinking glass, a lot of graffiti on it, and they have other stuff for sale as well. Let's get on with it. And we're back on this.
And we are back.
We're back with tattoos.
Yes, we are a whole new people.
Yeah, man.
We're different
So
now.
cool. We're so cool now. We got
Now,
tattoos.
yeah,
Look at us.
we got tattoos.
So hardcore. Yeah, man. So this episode we're gonna talk about tattoos. Man,
We should do a little recap
Yeah.
of our lives.
of our lives. I don't know if we have the time. No, we've I've been putting off having a tattoo for a long time. For many years, I've known tattoo artists. I've known friends who have tattoos. I've had people who've asked me to design tattoos for them, but I've never gotten a tattoo. I don't know. I could never commit to it, or I could never really think of why doing it, or what did I really want on my body. I don't know about it being so permanent as
Yeah.
much as what did I really.
What
really,
do you want it?
Yeah. Because I don't think now, especially now that we have tattoos, I'm like, whatever.
It's not that bad, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it was always just about like, well, why? And like, it just wasn't really in me to have it, right? But then I think we talked about it when we got married. We said we're gonna get tattoos together.
Yeah.
That's
that
what we're
was-
gonna do.
That was part of our vows.
That's part of
It
our
was
blood
kind of
pact.
like, yeah. We have to do this.
so corny.
That's gonna make it even more permanent.
We're mad corny. No, but I think once I knew, like, once I felt like I came to this point in my life that I knew, like, all right, I know my career, I know what I'm doing. There's no taboo for me of like, well, if I get a big old tattoo, what are people gonna think? And then also coming to a certain age where my sons are old enough
Yeah.
that I don't think like their judgment or their baby mama's judgment is gonna be a problem or an issue.
Right.
Like, I think once I got to that point, I was like, I think I'm good. I think I can just be me now, and I'm cool. Then also, just finding the right tattoo artist, finding somebody that you have a connection with. And I think that's, I'm hearing a common thread when I've spoken to other people that have gotten tattoos, where they get it from people that they know or people that they feel connected with.
Yeah.
I feel like, we have a good connection with my boy Rezo from Spain. I think this episode is also a little shout out to him.
Yes.
Shout out to Rezo Bloodline on Instagram. REZO Bloodline Tattoo on Instagram. We'll definitely post some pictures of his stuff. But I think with him, I've known him for almost 10 years now, I think. And I met him in Spain. He's a graffiti artist. I think because he's walked similar walk that I've walked, we have kind of like a similar connection between graffiti and even family life to a certain extent, that I kind of have a connection with him. I have a good bond with him. And when he came to New York, I was like, all right, if he comes to New York this time, we're definitely gonna try to get it. Yeah, we gotta get a tattoo. We gotta get a tattoo from him. And then I think also because him having a graffiti background, I felt more connected to him to say, hey, could you do a graffiti piece for us?
Yeah.
Can you do something related to what we do really in me and him in our lives?
Yeah.
Can you do it for us? And I felt like he would understand why, and he would have meaning to it. He would bring meaning to it. So he was a perfect match, and it was like, yeah, let's do it, let's get this done. So we got tattoos. That
And
guy,
we got tattoos,
it went from originally talking about
It
getting
was
like
something super small.
Yeah.
It was going to be something for me on my hand or something, maybe behind my wrist, behind my wrist.
little logo or little signature.
Yeah.
It went from that to
like
a full
freaking almost a full arm tattoo.
that's a full arm. That's an upper arm piece. That's
Upper, yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it went from getting a little tag. I was like, yeah, maybe I'll get a little tag on my wrist, on my hand, on my upper hand. I'll get a little tag, so when I'm doing graffiti videos or whatever, you'll see my tag on my hand. To him saying, well, why don't you just do your logo? And then him saying, well, your logo won't fit on your hand, so why don't you do it on your arm? And I was like, fuck it, let's just go all out. Let's just do a big old tattoo on my arm.
Yeah.
But I think that mentality that he can recommend, hey, just go bigger. And I'm like, yeah, fuck it, because we all know each other. I think that's what works.
Right.
And I think that is part of the tattoo process. It is artistry, and it is a commercial work also. But I think it's also a ritual.
Yes.
Part of it is the ritual. And
Yeah,
if the
like-
ritual is you're having some beers and you're playing some music and you're getting tattooed, then talking bullshit because you guys know each other, or maybe the ritual is that you're somewhere in some tattoo shop somewhere because you know the guy and it's your vibe.
Yeah. But part of the ritual is also look for the perfect design that you like, and then look for the perfect place to put that design on.
So why were you okay? So I'm gonna ask you these questions now. Ooh,
Yeah,
I got questions.
I was going to ask,
I
but
got questions.
I mean, I was going to say, but yeah, ask me. Okay, whatever.
So Carla, you got, and we're gonna post the tattoo pictures, and I'm sure some of you who are loyal listeners probably already know the tattoos that we got. But so Carla, you got a graffiti piece, one of my graffiti pieces tattooed on your arm.
Yeah.
Why were you okay with that instead of butterflies or?
I mean, yeah, originally I would have done like butterflies and stuff, but I felt like butterflies and flowers, that's something that you can see in any old tattoo. Like any girl can have, not any girl, but okay, you know what I mean. Like it's very popular and it's very
Cliche, maybe?
cliche, yeah, to have like a tattoo or like a butterfly tattoo or like a flower tattoo or something like that.
Something decorative.
Exactly. But I wanted something a little bit more personal and a little bit more that I felt connected with. And that's why originally I was thinking on my name maybe, or maybe Cortez, but more like in a
script.
In a script.
I know we were talking about
way.
that for a while. We were like, yo, you can get a script, a nice, some sort of nice, like a little bit urban, but like a script that has like a little bit of tattoo flair.
So I wasn't really going for the graffiti piece, but then we started messing around with it. Like you started showing me some of the styles that you did before. And then I was like, well, maybe that might work. Why not? But then it started also as something small, and then it got bigger and bigger so that you could really feel and see the piece on my arm. And I think it really came out very nice. It came out perfect.
So what Rezo did for you is he took one of my wild style graffiti outlines and he basically tattooed it on your arm and then gave it a little shadow, like some three-dimensionality by giving it some shading. I have tattoo envy because I wish I had that tattoo, honestly. And I had a feeling, and I when you were saying okay to it, I was like, wow, man, I think people are gonna look at that tattoo and be like, I'm a little envious that you have that because that's kind of rare.
Right.
And we even talked to Rezo and we were like, yo, how many people really get graffiti tattoos? And he was saying not that many people because, you know, it's not really that common for people to put a graffiti piece on their arm.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be different. It would stand out.
And myself, I was feeling kind of like a little weird because I was like, oh my God, when I show this tattoo to my friends, my mom, my family, they're going to be like, oh my God, what did you do to your arm?
Are they going to understand what it means?
What does it say on it?
Or even the significance. Like
exactly. And then also how I was going to look with a tattoo like that, you know, because of my personality, and to see like now I have a tattoo and it's graffiti piece, and I don't know, it gives more to the person that you are, I feel.
Right.
But yeah.
I mean, great. on my end, I got my logo, my Cortez NYC logo tattooed on my arm. His suggestion, I was half and half about doing it. Originally, I didn't think about doing that. for a little while, I thought about, hey, that'd be kind of a cool tattoo. But then I was like, nah, I don't know. Because it's a logo. So, like, why would I want to put a logo on my arm? I thought maybe something a little more organic would be cool, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe a graffiti piece.
Yeah.
But then he suggested it, and I was like, you know what? That would be a really good first tattoo. I like my logo. I have a connection to it. I think it feels like a brand. It's a branding. It's bold. It fits perfect, you know, as a badge on my arm.
Yeah.
So I was like, that would be a good idea. So I didn't fight it.
Yeah.
But yes, I think I'm ready for my second tattoo, and the second tattoo is gonna be.
You want the graffiti piece?
I want a graffiti piece. I'm envious. I want a wild style piece on my arm, maybe my forearm. But another thing that came up when we were discussing what should the tattoo look like and all that was color.
Yeah.
And because it was a graffiti piece, we played around with the idea of should we add color to it?
Yeah, originally I wanted some color to it. But then we realized like it might just be better off just leave it like tints and my skin color. Just because of my skin color, we don't know what colors would look nice on it.
Right.
So
I mean, there was definitely a conversation about skin tones, and maybe some of you people out there might have opinions. Some of you guys out there might have tattoos, but there was a conversation about how skin tones react to certain colors and how they look over a long-term period.
Yeah, over time.
And the idea of putting too many colors onto your flesh tone, how it would look over time. And we were like, you know what? It doesn't really matter because it's really about the outlines. It's about the forms and the line work and the shapes.
No, and even when Reza was doing it and he finished the outline, I went to see it to like watch it or whatever. We took a break. And I was like, wow, I can just leave it as is. Yeah. I don't need any shadows. I don't need nothing like that is perfect. Anyways, I was also a little tired because, you know, it was my first tattoo. But regardless, the outline itself looked like crazy good. It looked like it was a sticker. And it still looked like it's a sticker. Like it doesn't look like a tattoo.
I think that definitely is something about graffiti art and graffiti line art, that if you in any way have a connection to graffiti art, that you can read graffiti letters and you understand the line work and all that. When you see a piece of graffiti line art on somebody's skin, like it gives you an impression because you're like, wow, I never seen it like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that made sense. It worked. That's the human connection. Right. That's a psychological connection to the piece, and that's why maybe some people are more connected to, let's say, having a portrait on your arm or a dragon on your arm.
Yeah.
But a graffiti piece, it just has a connection.
Some people have seen like half of the piece. They say, "Oh, is it a tribal sketch or like a tribal design?" I'm like, no, it's not a tribal, it's a graffiti piece. But you know, I have to show you all the way to my shoulder. But it can become the new tribal. Right. Maybe. Just because of how the line works and everything else.
Yeah, the geometry of it. Well, speaking of tribal, I was gonna give you guys just a quick little history on tattoo, just going on Wikipedia as we do always. That's where we get all our facts.
Yeah.
I actually saw a couple of videos on the history of tattooing, and it has an interesting background because it seems like it has very specific origins, and the society's impression of tattoos has changed over time.
Yeah.
It used to be something that was seen as exotic or other. You know, like
the indigenous people.
Right. It's like somebody else's thing. It's not our thing.
It's not our thing.
But I think as society has become more mixed, it has become our thing.
Yeah.
Because we are mixed.
Yeah. And now that we have tattoos, now we're looking at everyone that had tattoos, and we realize there's more people out there with tattoos than without tattoos.
Exactly. And also, the other funny thing that I found out in just hearing about history is that even the people that criticize tattoos in Europe, in the old European culture, like the Victorian times, they had hidden tattoos.
Oh, look at that.
They had like royalty and things like that. They had tattoos, but they were in discreet places.
Oh. So tattoos are part of us, peoples.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid.
People just been in denial. All right. So just real quick history. Tattoo is a form of body modification where design is made by inserting ink, dyes, and pigments, either indelible or temporary. indelible or temporary, into the dermis layer of the skin to change the pigment. The art of making tattoos is tattooing. Tattoos fall into three broad categories: purely decorative with no specific meaning, symbolic with specific meaning, or pictorial, a depiction of a specific person or item.
Oh, so that would be like the portraits and everything else.
Exactly. In addition, tattoos can be used for identification, such as ear tattoos on livestock as form of branding. And obviously the old thing about Hitler tattooing the Jews and that kind of thing. That's a big part of tattoo. It's a big part of tattoo history. Is the Nazis tattooing the Jews. The word tattoo or tattow, Tattow, in the 18th century is a loan word from the Samoan. So even though tattoos are ancient, back to the Egyptian times, the word tattoo is something that is from the 18th century Samoan. The word tattow, meaning to strike. So tattow means to strike. So I mean that goes specifically into the technique of tattooing.
Right.
Right. By hitting, they used to hit with the needle. Yeah. And
I actually have seen a video of this old lady that still do this type of tattoos, and she used the needle and like a little, como un, oh my god, yeah, pero eso, yes.
And it says it was a Polynesian word, Samoan word, but before the use of that word, the practice of tattooing had been described in the West as painting or scarring or staining. So it existed.
Okay.
But it just wasn't called tattooing. It was
Uh-huh.
called like scarring or painting or like that. So they talk about it coming from military tattoos. They also talk about back in the history, slaves were tattooed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because when they use like the thing they use for the cows
Yeah.
into like enslaved people.
Yeah. They talk about also like prostitutes were tattooed.
Wow.
So because of that connotation, I guess.
Yeah, that's why now everybody think like it also, well, now in modern society will be like people that are in jail have tattoos.
Exactly.
And then if you have a tattoo, it's like, oh my God, you look like como una presa.
Yeah.
Como un preso, te ves como una presa. And what are you doing to your body?
Exactly.
Those people, they
right
do
now,
that. You don't.
Right now, I think the worst connotation for tattooing, and I'm just throwing out the stereotype, so don't judge me.
Yeah,
it's not what I think.
it's the stereotypes.
But the stereotype is, yes, you're either in jail or you're in a gang.
Yeah, or you're in a gang. Yeah.
But back in the day, it would have been you're a sailor.
Exactly.
Because you went
Or
and
you're a
traveled
pirate.
around. Yeah, you're a pirate. You went around the world and you landed on Polynesia and you had a tattoo and then you brought it back to Europe. But now it's the thing is like the stereotype. And for a Latino or Latina to have a tattoo.
Now they're telling me that I'm in a gang and I'm the boss. I'm like, oh well, yes. What can I do?
That's a weird stereotype. But now I think now the stereotype, if you have a tattoo, is that you're an artist.
Yeah, or that
That's
you
becoming
are
the cliche.
in some type of art.
Yeah, you're a musician, you're an artist, you're a
it's
visual
true.
artist, or you're a musician, a
Like
band.
you expect people that do art to have tattoos.
Exactly.
And then when you find someone that doesn't have tattoos, like in your case, it was kind of like,
Why
oh my
don't you have
God, really?
tattoos?
You don't have tattoos? So weird.
Yeah, I mean, so that's pretty much it. I mean, and just the ancient history of the tattooing is that yes, they have found ancient mummified humans, mummies that had tattoos.
Okay.
That they identified them having tattoos, and that was like, that's how far back it goes.
Yeah.
They don't know why they got them. They don't know if it was religious. They don't know if it was spiritual. They don't know if it was military. They don't know what was the purpose of it, or tribal or whatever. But they found it that far back.
Right.
So I think the other thing that I guess I'll share right now for the people out there that don't have tattoos, if the question of pain or blood or any of that is an issue, I would say, for me, it wasn't painful.
Yeah.
It felt like, and I showed you before, and I showed
that's the
other
description
people.
I used to other people too.
Yeah, it feels like you're rubbing a sharp metal object against your skin really hard to the point of trying to scrape your skin, right? Not cut your skin, not cutting in, but just scraping your skin like you are trying to rub the top layer of your skin off. That's what it feels like. It feels like the worst case scenario, like a really bad sunburn is what it feels like.
Yeah, what I was feeling the most was the heat of the needle against my skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The time that it takes, you know, let's say a couple of hours, let's say 4 hours, 3 hours, the minimum.
That's a lot.
6 hours, you know, can be a long time. I'm sure people go longer than that.
Yeah.
But I think the time period, the amount of time, the endurance of the tattoo artist to do it and you to receive it, I think that the sitting time is the real thing to plan ahead for. And then
to be mentally prepared,
Yeah.
have a little drink so that you can relax, and
Yeah, I mean, the old image of like a sailor getting drunk and then going to get a tattoo is a silly cliche because I don't think the machines nowadays are the way they were before.
Yeah.
I don't see the need to get like intoxicated or high or whatever to enjoy it. It's a little bit of pain, but it's not like.
Yeah, people ask me too. Did you got drunk? Did you had a drink?
Yeah,
How did you
wasn't even
handle
like that.
the pain? I was like, no, I didn't. Without any medication.
Yeah. No, and then I think lastly, the only thing that you guys should really watch out for when getting tattoos is the healing process.
Yes, make sure you do a great job at that because that's gonna say if your tattoo is gonna last or not, if your tattoo is gonna look great or not.
And the most that you're gonna feel, the reminder that you have a tattoo is gonna be after the tattoo in the healing process.
Yes.
Having to clean it, having to take care of it, having to sleep on your other side so that you don't affect it. That's the biggest part of it is the healing.
Yeah.
But we're happy. We got a tattoo. Shout out to Rezo. Thank you, homie.
Gracias, Rezo. Saludos a la familia.
And I'm ready for my next one.
Me too.
Pero si no estás haciendo todo igual, no tiene ningún color el paso que hace. Separa menos tiempo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Un, dos. What? Culture talk, Carla.
Wow.
I've been waiting. This is a
culture.
culture talk that's been in the works for like
I know.
3 months.
I know.
This culture
but
talk-
it hasn't been that long. You
I know,
think that
I'm exaggerating.
it hasn't been that long.
But no,
So-
but they've been in the news.
Yeah, for a long time.
They've been in the news for a long time.
so-
This whole story's been in the news for a long time. Carla, what are we talking about?
This culture talk is going to be about the Puerto Rican uprising
What?
in the summer of 2019. More than just talking about what happened, I'll give you some facts, but I'm sure that majority of you guys maybe know about the issue, but I'm still gonna tell you a little bit about it. And more than that, I just want to have a conversation of how did it affected me personally, because I think I didn't realize that I was so connected to what happened in the island until this happened. Like I didn't feel. I'll explain a little bit more how I felt.
Okay.
But yeah, so
Tell us the history. The overview is this is about there was a governor who was corrupt.
Yeah.
And the people in Puerto Rico on the island protested for a period of time, and they got him removed.
Yeah, so I'll tell you.
ahead.
The protest began on Saturday, July 13th, after 889 pages of damaging chats between Rosselló and members of his administrations were
He was
leaked.
the governor.
Yeah, were leaked to the public. So Ricardo Rosselló was the governor of the island back in July. And yeah, so there were pages from a chat that it was called Telegram, where he communicated with his staff and his team that were leaked to the public. And in these pages, you'll find homophobic jokes about the people that died during Hurricane Maria, jokes about Ricky Martin, jokes about and profanity, talking about the mayor of San Juan, Carmen Yulín, then other lady that works here in New York. She's a New York consul, but she works for the Puerto Rican community. Melissa Viverito. So there was a lot of things that happened with this chat, and I think...
And it was vulgar shit. It was like, he was talking about her like, oh yeah, if somebody were to kill her, oh, they'd be doing me a favor.
Yeah,
Who the fuck
about
says
Carmen
that?
Yulín, and then
I understand we're living in fucked up times where we have a president who says fucked up shit.
Yeah.
But in the Latin community and in Puerto Rico, you don't say, hey, kill somebody.
You would be doing me a favor.
You don't say that in that community.
And you don't say, this lady's a whore. Or just, hit that whore. Or, you do me a favor.
I understand freedom of speech. I understand the United States. I understand Trump. And I understand that we have a lot of liberties here.
Yeah.
But in the Latin community, we're not ready to have our politicians talk like that.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And then also, they came out... The excuse was kind of like this was a private chat. Yes, it wasn't. It was not good for us to talk this way, but it's not illegal. It was not illegal.
Exactly.
Whatever we did was not against the law.
He defended it until the last minute.
Yeah.
He defended himself like it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, and so people went out to the streets because they were like, you think it's not that bad? We're gonna show you how bad is it. And they went out to the Fortaleza, which is the governor mansion, and they were protesting for approximately 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There were two big marches.
Yeah.
That it was in a big highway in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, they shut down that major highway.
They shut down the highway, and they basically shut down any business that was around there. So that's why so many people came out during that time.
That shit looked crazy. We've been to Puerto Rico. I mean, you were raised there, obviously, but
yeah.
I've been to Puerto Rico many times, and I just seeing the footage, I could imagine the people that were out there. Just seeing the images of the streets so filled. I know how those streets are. They're not that big. Mm-hmm. So I can imagine how filled those streets and that whole area was. And for the people to go out there and do that and take time out of their lives to really protest something that they felt passionate about, and to shut shit down and to stop even the police, the local people, because they couldn't do anything. What are they going to do?
Yeah, and the funny thing is that, so these were 2 weeks until, I think it was on a Thursday, I remember. And that Thursday, he finally resigned, but it took so long. He said that the message was going to be at 5 p.m., then at 8 p.m., then at 9 p.m.
He kept stalling it.
And I was following since 5 p.m. because I went to protest to Union Square. And then they were saying that he was going to resign that afternoon. So I didn't went to a protest. I was just following the news on my phone. I came home and I was on my laptop still watching until it was 11:45, and that's when the message came out that he finally resigned. But the funny thing about all of this and this protest that I think is different from in the United States is that people stay in front of the governor mansion because the funny thing is that the Constitution says that you can protest and you have a right to protest, and that there shouldn't be a time when protesting is done, So what I'm trying to explain is that when people were protesting in the island during those nights, when it was 11 p.m., all of a sudden the police officers started to throw tear gas to the people so that they can clear out the streets for the next day. So it seems like at 11 p.m. protesting is done. Like at 11 p.m. protesting was unconstitutional. And that's unconstitutional because they cannot stop a protest just because they want to go home. If people want to protest until 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, they have a right to do so. So there's also a lot of, now after everything happened, a lot of articles coming out if the police officers were a little bit too tough, which I think they were. There were a lot of people that were mistreated by the police
because overall
were punched and hit and everything.
Overall, although it was portrayed, and I'm gonna throw my little 2 cents in there, but although it was portrayed as a violent thing in the island, it was a peaceful protest.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a peaceful protest. We didn't hear about anybody dying.
Yeah.
We didn't hear about anybody getting hurt.
Yeah, nobody died during those 2
The
weeks.
worst thing that happened is there was some imagery.
Yeah.
And a lot of graffiti.
Exactly.
I saw a lot of graffiti. Man, shout out to my Puerto Rican graffiti artists out there.
They
All my
did
Puerto
it.
Rican graffiti writers did it. They did it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, but yes,
Go ahead, keep going.
this was a historic time, definitely, and it sparked a lot of also conversation between family members, between friends. I have my group chat with my fantastic ass from Puerto Rico, and we were talking so much about it because I was trying to tell them, this doesn't end with him resigning.
Exactly.
And this is more than just a resignation. This is years of corruption and years of people stealing money from the ones that need the most.
And unfortunately for Puerto Rico, decades
Yeah.
of corruption and shit happening that is still not resolved. So you
Yeah.
have one problem, and then you get another problem, and then that problem, and then you get another problem on top of that. And you get,
Yeah.
and just like this example with this governor, you had a recent problem that everybody was aware of, the hurricane. And on
Exactly.
top of that hurricane, now you got a corrupt governor.
Exactly.
Like that's the story of Puerto Rico. You have one problem mounted on top of another one, on top of another one, it's hard to resolve one when you got the other one.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited that they did tackle at least one.
I know, yeah. And to tell you the truth, this is the first time I've seen protests like this in Puerto Rico. I went to the University of Puerto Rico when I was there, and the group from the University of Puerto Rico, I feel because they were more educated and they were more like open-minded, were the ones that always will start some type of protest, but just because it was fair and they
Right.
believed in what they were fighting for. But this time, it was more than just los pelus of the university.
Exactly. The
It
the
was-
long hairs.
Exactly.
The hippies.
The hippies. It was more than that. It was like a whole, the whole people. They just like woke up and they were like, no, yeah, enough is enough, and we're gonna go out and you
I
have
think-
to hear us.
I think there was I think the thing that made this a little bigger is that there was a moral issue there.
Yeah, exactly.
There was
and
a moral issue.
when you mess with their honor, when you mess with their morals, I think it charges something more. Like it fuels something more in people to go and fight. Like you can steal whatever you want. It might not affect everyone, but once you insult someone and you insult a whole,
a whole culture, and you paint the picture of the leadership of that culture like that.
like that.
I think that there was something there.
Yeah. To say this is not the way that we want to be represented.
Yeah.
And this is not the way that we should be treated, because we gave you the trust
Right.
to be on the power. And another thing that will happen during those days, the message, like Rosselló will have press conference and he will say that everything has to be through the democracy. So that, yeah, it was okay that protests were happening and that was part of the democracy, but that he was selected by the people through the democratic process. So
He was trying to hide behind the process.
exactly. He was trying to say, well, yeah, I understand that there are protests, and I understand I'm trying to have a reconciliation process happening.
Therapy.
Yeah.
Governor therapy.
Yeah, and then, but
I truly apologize. Blah,
but
blah, blah,
I
blah,
was
blah.
elected under the democratic process.
This is not the United States. Vete pa'l carajo.
And it was kind of like, yeah, but the people that put you there now is asking you to resign. So how is it that this is not part of the democratic process, right?
He thought he was a white boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
He thought he was going to get the white boy pass.
I mean, but the
He
truth
was a good
is,
boy. He meant well. He's apologized. He's sincere in his apology. Get the fuck out of here.
But the truth is that now things are not resolved, and now he has a freaking guardaespaldas. Le pagaron
Bodyguards,
escoltas.
yeah.
Le pagaron. They paid for him bodyguards. He left Puerto Rico, but they paid bodyguards for him because he was lo amenazaron de muerte
They had death threats. Yeah.
against him, and now it's being protected by the Puerto Rican government. But in Puerto Rico, there's a lot of crises. There's women that are dying in hands of their significant other because of domestic violence. And in order for them to get protection, the only thing they get is a paper. And you're telling me that the governor that it was corrupt, that he had corrupt people in his administration. He talked all that bullshit about Puerto Rico and everybody around there, and he still deserves bodyguards.
He should have been kicked off the island.
It's
He
freaking
should be
ridiculous.
somewhere.
So-
he should be in the United States where he belongs.
Yeah, but that's
Hiding
when,
out.
but that's where it goes back to what I was saying. His resignation doesn't really do much. It does a lot. It does a lot because this is a historical moment. But in terms of trying to fix the whole system in Puerto Rico, I don't know how that's gonna happen, because it's a lot of it's almost like a conspiracy. Like the people that are actually in charge of the island are people with money that
They're
are
all
not in the
connected.
government.
Yeah, they're all connected.
That the people in the government are just the faces, but
Well,
the people that pays them are the ones that are running the
I
island.
guarantee you that's happening in all the countries around
Yeah,
the world.
I know. Even here. I mean, here the most.
Especially
here is
here.
where everything started.
But I found it interesting to see this governor in the middle of the crisis of his negative texts and his public shaming, coming onto the American networks to try to have interviews, and having even the American media, the United States media, kind of like attacking him and kind of shaming him and being like,
That's
well,
right.
but what do you mean by this? But what do you mean by that? They were just not letting him have even a little bit of a space to talk. And I was like, Trump could use this.
Right.
Like, why are you guys bullying this guy? Now, that's the part that makes it a little weird, because it makes me feel like I have a bigger beef, obviously, with what's happening in the bigger administration here in the United States.
Yeah.
And I don't want to feel pity for this guy from Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
because he did do a bad thing, and he should be out also.
Yeah.
But I did feel bad for him that the media was pouncing on him.
Right.
The American English-speaking media was pouncing on him.
Right.
Like they were blackballing him
Yeah.
and kind of like saying, "You're not part of us anymore. Now you're out."
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I'm like, yeah, but why don't you guys do that to Trump?
Yeah, it's true.
Because Trump has done a ton of shit, and you let him talk and say all his crazy shit. You don't stop him and be like, "You're talking shit, stop it. You're talking shit, stop it." Nobody says that to Trump.
Nobody
But to
says
this guy from Puerto Rico, they were like not giving him even 2 cents, not
And I think-
giving him a couple of seconds to talk.
I
And
think
that's when I
that-
was like, I knew, like, when I saw the media doing that, I was like, oh, he's out.
Yeah.
He's out.
And-
The people did
and-
that. He's out. He's out.
And I think that's the worst about all this. He actually showed like Trump was looking good, saying that he was corrupt and that the government was corrupt.
Right, because Trump was talking
Fucking
against him.
Fox News, that was the reporter
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
that interview, looked like heroes. Everybody in Puerto Rico were sharing that freaking interview, and I was kind of happy, but at the same time I was like, but this is Fox News. Like, what are we talking about? And it's a shame that it has to get to this level.
Where the corrupt push out the corrupt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where the motherfucker that says so many things about women as well, about immigrants.
Who has
about
done, not says, done shit.
Done, I know.
Who
But
has
also,
done
if
things.
we go to the thing of you damage my ego and you damage my reputation
right.
and my morals,
Right.
this guy,
Yeah, no, this guy's a mess. This guy, I could never, we had a conversation on this, I don't remember what episode it was, but we spoke about Trump on this podcast.
Yeah.
And I still feel the same exact way. It's been months, but I feel the same exact way. Trump, I don't have a problem with Trump politically, ideologically. I have a problem with Trump morally, and from a Latino perspective, I have a problem with him as a man,
Yeah.
for what he stands for and doesn't stand for.
yeah.
Those things will not go away. I just can't
Yeah.
with him. I can't
Yeah.
with him. Business is business. People are corrupt. People put money in their pockets and they lace themselves all the time. But what he comes out and does is counter Latino culture.
Yeah.
It just does not go. It does not blend with what we're raised with.
Yeah.
As a kind of like a compass, a moral compass. It's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
it goes against what we understand as what we are supposed to be here on earth for.
Yeah.
And it's not even religious. It's just some shit that he says that just does not make
moral.
sense.
It doesn't have to do.
It's anti-human.
Anything. Exactly.
It's anti-human. It makes
It's
no
that
sense.
it's so
It makes no
bizarre that you cannot explain it because it's like anybody that hears that or sees whatever he's doing or sees how he expressed himself about different issues. I just don't get how there's still people that says yes, that's right. Yes. He's saying the right thing. How? If you are a human, just by being human and thinking about your fellow human being that is here with you
on this planet,
you're gonna know that that's not the right way to talk. Like, there's so many right now thinking about the freaking zoo show that we're watching, Walking Dead. So many things that can happen where humanity has to come together. And these motherfuckers are the first ones to be fans of this show. But then when we have a real threat here in the United States and in the world, you're thinking no, it's better if we think that we are, the better race and that we are the best. And we should decide for what immigrants are going to do. What other people, but different, I don't know, gay people, lesbians, this and that. I have to decide for them because I know better. Like, what the fuck? What if zombies come and you have to work with the lesbian that you hate? And you have to work with the immigrant that you hate? What the fuck? It's like at the end of the day.
Vote for Carla for 2020. Because she's anti-zombie. She's prepared for the zombie apocalypse.
No, but it's true. Like, at the end of the day, when something like that happens,
I
like
hear
in
you
Puerto
100%.
Rico with the hurricane. When the hurricane happened, everybody had to come together. Money, no money.
If you have a natural disaster, it puts shit in perspective.
Yeah.
And maybe we're pinpointing what made this governor have to be kicked out.
Yeah.
Is that there was a natural disaster that affected the whole country, and he took advantage of that.
Yeah.
And that's the last straw.
Yeah. And what's the worst also about these messages of Rosselló is that the time when it happened, it was like a couple of months after Maria. So it was almost like a slap on the face for the Puerto Ricans because they were like, so you are going to tell me that while we had no electricity, no water, no food, nothing, you were not talking about how are we going to solve the problem? How are we going to help our people?
That should have been your only texts.
But you were just talking bullshit with your friends. Like, what the fuck, man? No, yeah, but you know what? It's crazy.
Yeah, I was very excited. I was a little. I tend to be. People think I'm optimistic and very positive, but I have that Gen X negativity in me that makes me always look at the dark side.
Yeah.
And I keep that in my pocket. But I was very skeptical. I was like, is this guy really going to come down? If he does come down, who's next? Is the next person going to be just as bad?
Yeah.
But I was very proud and very excited proud for the Latino culture, proud for Puerto Ricans.
Yeah.
And excited for the impact that news and that event would have on the Latin American culture across the entire United States.
Right.
That we would see something like that and say, wow, look at that. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's an example of a go-to attitude.
And those were the news right after. It was kind of like, look, Puerto Ricans did it. Nobody died. They did it for almost 2 weeks. Kept fighting.
But the only thing that I will say about the news about it that did, and I'll chime in, and this is my 2 cents.
Okay.
The English news outlets only reported on this Puerto Rican crisis with the governor only when it affected tourism, when they were reporting on how it was affecting the cruises that were landing in Puerto Rico, and then only reported on it when it had to do with violence, possibly. And,
it's true.
And things happening in the streets. That's the only 2 things that I saw in the English-speaking news about it. Was like, there's an uprising in Puerto Rico. There's an unrest, civil disobedience. People are blah, 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 blah. And business is shutting down and tourism might be affected. So stay tuned to find out how's it going to affect your
Your
vacation.
Vacation. Your travel.
Yeah, your travel plans.
Yeah.
And then the other one that was following that was like, oh my God, civil unrest, fire in the streets, people protesting all night. This, that, and the other in Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
Look at
exactly.
it, and they show you footage of people like lighting stuff on fire and whatever.
Right.
Nobody got hurt,
No.
but that's what they showed you.
Yeah.
And then when the governor got kicked out, I didn't hear a peep.
I know. Yeah.
The governor got kicked out, and I did not hear a fucking news report about the resolution that happened in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Yes, we heard it on the internet, but I'm talking about just the regular TV, the regular media did not report on, like, what was the resolution, what was the next step, what was the next person in charge.
It was the same with the hurricane. The hurricane passed. They say hurricane passed Puerto Rico, blah blah.
Yeah, cancel your flights to Puerto Rico.
Exactly, and then that's it. Until there was the crisis on the airport. Oh, planes are not coming out, blah blah, and that's when also news came out, and then that was it. And there were months and months without electricity, but like nothing really happening on the news.
And once
at
again,
least on TV, you know, because on the internet, yeah. But what about people that don't have internet and they just read it on TV?
And once again, to remind people out there who might not be listeners of this podcast, habitual listeners, maybe new listeners, Puerto Rico is part of the United States.
That's
so we're
right.
basically talking about the United States when we talk about this situation.
We're talking about a U.S. territory since 1898.
Exactly. So over 100 years,
Yeah.
this is part of the United States.
Yeah.
Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens, and this is what's happening to the U.S. citizens, and it's not being reported on.
Exactly.
And
it's crazy.
U.S. citizens are protesting on their territory, in their land, and winning,
Exactly.
and it's not being reported on.
Because why not? Because they don't want that to happen here.
They don't want it to happen
They
in
don't
the
want
States.
They don't want people to go to the streets and don't be so fed up that they're not afraid anymore.
Exactly.
So
I mean, when was the last time we saw the White House surrounded by people?
I know.
Or the governor's mansion surrounded by people? It doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't
we
happen.
protest very politely down the main avenue.
and you have to
during
have
a
like a
curfew.
permission,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
During a curfew.
Yeah, because if not, they kill you.
So,
Ridiculous. But yeah, that's what happened in Puerto Rico.
un saludo a toda la gente de Puerto Rico.
Un saludo. Let's keep fighting. Vamos a seguir la lucha porque la lucha sigue. Hay que sacar a Wanda y a todos los corruptos que quedan en el gobierno.
Peace.
You wanted me to teach you, right? This is street reality.
Hablando español, Carla, I don't think you have any words for me.
Are you sure?
Positive.
I think that you might be wrong.
What? What words you got for me? Go ahead.
All right. So, how do you say
Yes.
tattoo in Spanish?
I have it. Tatuaje.
Wow. Okay. Yes. Great.
Tatuaje. Tatuaje.
And how do you say tattoo artist?
Tatu. I'm gonna go two ways. One way I'm sure is wrong. Tatuador is wrong.
No, that's
That-
right.
Tatuadista.
No, tatuador.
That's correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Tatuador?
That's correct.
Tatuador.
Tatuador.
Because I was gonna say tatuista. Tatuista.
Tatuador.
Tatuador.
Mm-hmm.
All right, tatuador.
All right.
That sounds pretty strong, like matador. Tatuador.
Matador. Yes.
What else you
How
got?
do you say uprising?
Oh, shit, you beat me on that one. Uprising. Surgencia. Algo sur.
No.
Like a resurgence. Okay.
Okay, so there's three, but I'm gonna give you two, which I think are the most. El levantamiento.
Okay, I like that.
Levantamiento.
Levantamiento.
O
Yep.
la insurrección.
Insurrection.
Which I've heard when like enslaved people did la insurrección.
Shit,
that
I've
I
heard it.
don't know.
I've heard insurrection, even talking about in Afghanistan and Taliban and all that shit. Insurrection.
Insurrection. So insurrección.
Insurrección
Insurrección.
is an uprising.
Uprising.
All right, I like that. Insurrección. That's my new tag.
That's right.
I'm writing that from now on.
How do you say temporary?
Temporary. Temporary. Temporal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Temporal.
Yes. How do you say crisis?
That's easy. Crisis.
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 I said crisis.
Yeah, exactly. Crisis.
Crisis. Crisis.
Okay, and
Is
my
a
last
crisis.
one.
Crisis.
How do you say shaming?
Shaming. Ooh, you got me with that. I never thought of saying the word shaming in Spanish. Shaming. No, I don't know.
Vergonzoso. O avergonzar.
That's the one.
To shame, avergonzar. But shaming is that something is shaming, something is vergonzoso.
No, shaming is that you're doing it.
Oh, so avergonzar.
Avergonzar.
Yeah,
Avergonzar.
avergonzar.
All right. Avergonzar. I like that. Shaming.
Yeah.
Carla.
Yeah. What's
How do
up?
you say governor?
Gobernador.
Okay. How do you say
Oh, you got nothing.
protest?
Protest is protesta.
Okay. How do you say impeachment? And I think we've said this before.
Yeah, they used that word a lot during those days.
Impeachment. How do you say impeachment? Because they were trying to impeach the governor. I got you. You didn't
Oh,
remember.
I didn't remember because that word is so freaking annoying. Okay.
Carla, I'm sorry that the word is so annoying.
Okay, so I just Googled it because I really couldn't remember it. And it's el proceso de residenciamiento. Residenciamiento. Is that is such a long word.
To impeach somebody.
Residenciamiento.
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 Residenciamiento a Trump is what we got to do.
That's what we have to do.
That's what
we
we
have
have
to
to do.
start el proceso de residenciamiento en contra de Mr. Trump. Quítenlo de ahí.
Por favor.
Por favor, gracias. Sign, Carla Cortez.
All right. Well, listen. I don't know that the process in the United States is going to be as easy as it was in Puerto Rico to remove somebody, especially from a governor to a president. It should be, but it seems like it's not.
No.
And it seems like it's much more complicated.
Yeah.
But
We'll see.
I
We
do
might
think-
have to wait until 2020.
I think that both things are connected.
Yeah.
I don't think that this thing with the governor of Puerto Rico would have happened if it wasn't for Trump being in office.
Yeah.
There was a connection there of corruption and corruption.
Yeah.
And I think we just got rid of one of the pawns, and we haven't got rid of the king yet.
That's right.
So we are good with another episode.
Yay. We did it.
As always, we did it. We got a big bottle of wine, so we're gonna have more episodes coming. Next episode, I want to talk about my iPad.
Oh, great.
I am very excited about this iPad.
Yeah, me too.
But the thing is, I don't want to turn it into a episode about a promotion for iPad and Apple only.
Well, definitely
It
that's
has to do with the pen and it has to do with the programs.
okay, yeah.
And it has to do with what you do with it, with this technology.
We'll see. What do you do?
All right, that'll be next episode.